This story begins with a boy who is observing a big spider. This boy is our protagonist, an assassin named Fang Tian, who is currently doing a reward mission which is to eliminate the shadow spider. Currently Fang is in a virtual world in which he has lived for several years. He tells us that 12 years ago he dabbled in a game called Fantasy in which he has survived doing all kinds of missions, since this world is full of monsters, mutants, elves and much more, making this world a very dangerous place where the weak die and the strongest survive, but it has been a long time since he has accustomed. While Fang Tian fights against the spider, a strange status window appears which asks him to exit the game right now. However, due to the strange appearance of the status window, the spider sends Fang flying. But he quickly gets up and runs out of the place and then opens the status window and exits the game, wondering if he is in the real world. And something seems strange to him, since all the missions were always inside the game. But why does he have to go out into the outside world this time? However, we see that Fang is injured due to the spider's attack, since it had a paralyzing effect and he must treat it immediately. After a while we see him treating the wound. He says that these Shadow Elite spiders level 20 were as annoying as they said. However, at that moment, we see a person trying to attack him from behind, but Fang notices his presence and quickly puts the dagger to his neck, but does nothing since this person was his uncle Habode. And here he tells us a bit about his uncle. He says that his uncle is in charge of the missions and is always the one who gives him the orders in the game. Returning to reality, Fang's uncle gives him the next mission, leaving him very confused. Since the mission this time is not supposed to be within the game area, Uncle Habo tells him that since the mission is a little different, this time he can consider it as an evaluation and he needs to get close to this person in the mission. It will take some time. Something he has to keep in mind is that he can't let anyone find out his secret, and for nothing in the world he can use his power in the real world and cannot enter the game in his own way. However, Fang uses a small fireball, causing Uncle Habo to hit him on the head, asking if he didn't just tell him that he can't use his powers, and that he must change his clothes, since the person they will think that he is cosplaying and that it is time to leave that place. Uncle Ha asks Fang if he is nervous to face the real world, since he has been in the virtual world since he was a child and surely he is not formalized with the real world. He tells him not to worry and that he will take time to adapt. As an experienced manager, he will give him advice to complete the mission successfully. First, he tells him that if he feels nervous, he just has to smile and be nice. Second, when he gets a girlfriend, to make sure she has big breasts. He tells him that's all and the mission can start. After that we change the scene and we see two people, a girl and a boy. The girl with glasses tells the redhead that they have found the boy. The redhead asks where is he. The girl with glasses replies that he is at the police station and the redhead tells her to take him immediately. Returning to our protagonist, he wonders if the Region 3 commander can really fool T-27. In which we go to a flashback from an hour ago where we see Uncle Ha telling Fang that he will infiltrate the lair of a group that is dedicated to human trafficking, and that he remembers that he is a homeless boy who was kidnapped 10 years ago and that a man named Tang will come looking for him, and he should be aware that he is not an easy target, who is not reckless and waiting for his next order. Back to reality, we see Fang saying that this mission is more complicated than killing the shadow spider. Then we see that the two guys from before have arrived and they begin to knock on the door, and we see that the room which they are heading to is the one where Fang is. Tang asks why does the boy look like this? And the girl with the glasses replies that she heard that he was abused by the traffickers, and he approaches Fang telling him not to be afraid, that he is a friend of his father and that he knew him when he was a child. He asks Fang if he wants to come with him. He replies that he is fine. After that we see the red-haired guy telling Fang that this will be his new room and that from now on he can live with them. Then Fang grabs a photo asking Tang if that's his father. In that, Tang's daughter appears asking him if he had just found the boy. He tells her not to yell and tells Fang that she is his daughter Tang Qian and will show him the place. Then, the girl approaches where Fang tells her since she will live in her house, they should introduce themselves properly in order to get along. Then Fang is presented in a strange way, causing Qian to laugh, saying that he is interesting since he is presented as a character from a game, since usually only an assassin class NPC does that pose. Qian introduces herself as a magician, leaving Fang very surprised. He didn't expect her to be a magician since these are a very powerful class, but he doesn't know what he means by NPC. Then Qian interrupts him, telling him that now that they met he will take him to a super fun place after finishing. Fang asks Qian what is interesting about this place. She tells him that it is a game store called Shenglong and that now they have a game called Fantasy that is very popular all over the world. She tells him that he only has to wear a device to connect and that the game is very interesting because it feels very realistic. Qian leaves Fang very surprised since the game is called Fantasy, the same name as the game he was living in. Qian tells Fang that she has a game today and that he will show him how to play. A boy appears asking Qian why is he so late, and that the physics class is losing 3-0 because the chemistry class asked for outside help. The boy's name is Luo Jianbin and he introduces himself with Fang. After a while, Qian tells Fang to give her a moment since she's going to beat that guy. He replies that he understands, and Luo Jian tells Qian that the physics class is counting on her. Then we see Qian and the guy she has to play with. They decide to go into advanced mode, and Luo Jian says that since they entered advanced mode, it will give her a good chance of winning. Fang asks why, and Luo Jian replies that in basic mode, equipment and skills depend on the account, and that guy's account could be better than Qian's. But in advanced mode, both players will have the same amount of points, skills, and equipment attributes. Basically, both will be balanced, and also that his team has already lost 3 rounds. If they lose all 5 rounds, they will have to pay the internet for the chemistry class for a month. Fang says he understands. Apparently everything matters when there is money involved. Then we go to the game where we see Qian and her opponent. Very surprised, Fang says that he remembers that arena. He wonders if this is the world he lived in. But the players are still here. How can they be in both worlds at once? In that, Qian uses a fireball attack, leaving Fang very surprised, since it means that she must be at level 25 or higher. Returning to Qian, she is using a multiple fireball attack, and her opponent uses a barrier and her shield, saying she is just a 1-star mage. In that, Qian scans the subject, saying that the continued attack only took a quarter of his life, and that it must be because his shield level is quite high and her spell needs time to recover. In that, the other subject provokes Qian by asking her if she ran out of mana, and launches into the attack, saying that it is his turn to attack. Qian replies that a mage never runs out of mana, and launches a strong attack called an ice ring, which manages to hit the subject. In that, we go to see the students, saying that it is amazing, and with that attack she managed to reduce his movement speed. Fang says that Qian is a very cool and amazing magician, and that she is capable of launching high-level skills, and that the people of this world are very strong. However, the subject apparently had an ace up his sleeve, and we see that a red aura begins to come out of it, leaving Fang very surprised. Then we go to the virtual world, and the subject manages to free himself from Qian's attack with a great discharge of energy. He quickly throws himself into the attack, causing Qian to immediately use a barrier. However, the subject manages to break it by smashing it against the wall. Then we go to see Luo Jian, who says that this subject is very powerful and that they are finished. Returning to the virtual world, the subject ends the game with a critical hit, and the students say that the subject is very amazing and what is expected of the captain of the school member team. Then Fang approaches where Qian, asking if she is okay or is she injured. In that, the subject with whom Qian was previously playing appears, telling her that she is not yet a match for him and that now the game is 4-0. He asks her if she still wants to fight the final round. Then, she takes off her virtual helmet, a little annoyed, leaving Fang very surprised and wondering why nothing happened to her if she just received a blow as strong as that. Qian answers the boy that of course they will continue with the game, and asks what makes him think that they will chicken out at the last moment. And she is also asking the boys about who will be the next participant. However, we see that the boys do not respond to her, since the other boy in chemistry class is very powerful, making her angry, asking them if they really left her alone at a time like this. Going back to Fang, he wonders why the injuries they suffered in fantasy disappeared when they left the game. Fang thinks that this is very different from what he used to experience in the game, and that to make sure he has to try it himself. He tells Qian that he will play the final game. She asks him if he really knows how to play. But he tells him that it doesn't matter, that he seems to be good at video games and that they are counting on him for the last game. Although Fang tells her that he has never played, he quickly puts the virtual headset on him. Once inside the game, Fang says that this feeling is the same as when he entered the game back then. However, the system appears, telling him that it has detected abnormal player data and that it will start integrating the data, starting the auto recovery. Fang says he's never seen this before and wonders if this is the home interface of the game. Then, the status window appears, asking if he wants to enter game mode or combat mode or system configuration. But then another window shows a status message announcing that Tanzai's player Yiman is challenging him to a fight and would you like to accept. Fang says that that name is of the player who defeated Qian and decides to accept the challenge. Then the system appears, asking him what class do you want to use, the assassin, the warrior, or the magician. He decides to use the assassin class. Then Qian sends a friend request to Fang. She yells at him, asking what are you waiting for, and that the battle is about to start, choose your skills fast. Then the status window appears, warning him that the battle will begin in 20 seconds. Fang quickly chooses the skills he knows and is immediately teleported to the battlefield. Then see the other player, who says that he cannot believe that he got the mysterious forest, since this is not a good place for warriors, and also he does not know what skill his opponent chose. Going back to Qian, we see that she and her group of friends are very confused, since they don't see Fang anywhere, and that most likely he has chosen the assassin class to use the stealth ability, and they hope that he doesn't lose badly. Luo Jian says that the warrior has more life and more defense ability, that it was probably born to defeat weak assassins, and that they are most likely already finished. Returning to the virtual world, we see the guy saying that it's been a while and Fang hasn't shown up. Maybe he chose the assassin class. Then we see that Fang is watching him behind his back and he says that his defense position is intermediate. Apparently he is a very experienced warrior, but the assassins are ahead of the warrior in the area of the mysterious forest. Fang quickly launches the attack, however, in the process he feels a strange sensation and barely manages to make a small cut on his face. He wonders what just happened. He was sure that he was aiming to his throat and that it's not normal for that attack to miss. Then, another subject launches a strong attack at Fang with his shield called the high-class Tunisian shield, which he barely manages to retain and quickly retreats. However, the subject uses an attack called a whirlwind hammer, and when Fang plans to dodge the attack, he perceives the strange sensation again, causing him to lose his balance and manage to receive the attack head-on, which said attack managed to lower his life by half. Fang doesn't know what's going on. Why does he feel this strange feeling? In which the subject tells Fang that he really is a novice for choosing the assassin class, and although the assassins have an advantage in the arena of the mysterious forest, the warriors easily surpass them in strength and that he will no longer waste time with them, and will end this in one attack. Then Fang says that he will probably end up losing. Suddenly the status screen appears telling him that multiple instances of movement not suitable for the opponent have been detected, and asks him if he wants to activate the full mode, or better known as the free mode, in that Fang wonders what is the free mode. But we see that the subject launches the attack. Fang says that he has no choice and ends up confirming the free mode. He easily blocks the subject's attack, leaving him very surprised and wondering if he blocked his attack in free mode. We see Fang, which again hides in the bushes. Returning to the viewers, we see Luo Jian wondering, is Fang playing in free mode? And that it is the first time that he sees this in a duel. He also asks Qian where did she get Fang from. She tells him that she didn't know he was so good at playing and says that generally players prefer semi-free mode, that he has the help of the system to facilitate control and that only professionals dare to activate free mode for complete, where the game depends on the responsibility of the player. Returning to the arena, the warrior class guy wonders how come he couldn't dodge his attacks. But if he managed to block it with a movement in free mode, he also wonders if it was a coincidence. But that it doesn't matter, that he still won't be able to overcome it and that he should keep calm, since after all it is not so easy to master the free mode completely. Then we go to see Fang, who says that he finally feels really good and who would have thought that there was a free mode in this game, quickly attacks the subject of the warrior class from behind, causing him a critical hit and leaving the subject is very surprised. But he quickly launches an attack at Fang, which he easily dodges, saying that he is naive. He easily manages to launch an air attack at the subject, who says that Fang's movements are very strange and his attack has no effect on him. But without this realization, Fang was already behind him to finish the battle. However, the subject managed to react in time by landing a strong blow called a fierce attack from the iron hammer to Fang, with which he managed to win the battle, leaving the students very confused and wondering if perhaps Fang was a professional. Returning to Fang, we see that he is in the virtual world, saying that as he thought, this world he connected to is very different from the one he is used to, since dying in the game area does not imply dying in reality, and asks if this means you can use this method to practice without worry. And we see that this asks the system to exit the game. In that Luo Jian approaches Fang, telling him that he is amazing and that he almost won the game. Fang apologizes because he actually ended up losing. He replies that there is no problem, that he put up a good fight. That's when Qian approaches, who apparently wants to ask Fang something. However, she is interrupted by the boy whom Fang had just fought with, telling the protagonist that he could have beaten him with that last cut to his throat and question why didn't the attack end. Fang watches him for a moment and tells him that he is not very used to it. After a while we see Fang and Qian returning home, and she tells Fang that he is really good at playing. Even all his classmates were impressed with his skills. In that, when Tang Qian enters the house, her father asks where did she take Fang. She replies that she only showed him around to familiarize himself with the surroundings, and she quickly goes to her room. Tang Ran tells Fang that he already made a medical appointment and that they will go to the hospital later. He asks why. If he's not sick, Mr. Tang tells him that he knows, but he's been through a lot and he's worried about him and that Dr. Liao is a good psychologist and he should just talk to him like a friend. Fang says in his mind that Tang Ran believes that he was kidnapped by human traffickers and that he must have been through horrible things, that it doesn't seem like his worries are a fake. In that, Tang Ran interrupts him, asking if something is wrong with him. Fang tells him that it's okay, and tells him that he remembers that he had told him that he knew his father and asks him what kind of person was he. He replies that they have been friends for more than 10 years, that he is a man with strong beliefs capable to influence those around him, but Fang asks why he didn't finish the sentence. With a big smile, he answers that it's nothing and leaves the place, telling him that he has already done all the paperwork and that he will be in the same class as Qian, who he hopes will adapt very easily. Then he leaves the place. Fang says he didn't answer her question. In that we go to a flashback when Fang was a child, asking a strange guy what was his father like. And he answers that the only thing he needs to know is that his father is a hero. Returning to reality, Fang wonders to himself, what is Tang Ran trying to hide? Then we see in a building, a psychotherapy area, we see the protagonist accompanied by Tang Ran entering through a door. He tells Fang not to worry, that he is here to accompany and support him and make sure there is no danger. He tells him that Dr. Liao is inside and that he will wait for him outside. When Fang enters, he finally meets this doctor. He asks him if he is Fang Tiang. He then introduces himself as Liao Bufan and tells him that he will be his treating doctor, asking him to sit down and make himself comfortable. As Dr. Liao approaches, we see how Fang adopts a somewhat tense position and looks very nervous. Dr. Liao tells him that he is aware of his situation and asks him to do some things before they start with the consultation. Favors. Dr. Liao takes out a pen and a pencil to take his notes and tells him to answer some questions. Then he stands behind Fang and surprisingly he attacks him with his pencil around the neck. But Fang manages to notice just in time and dodging the surprise attack, he rushes to his attacker, hitting him and pinning him against the wall. Fang asks who is he, and he replies that it was only a test and that he had passed it satisfactorily. Then we see how the supposed doctor removes a kind of mask that turned out to be his Uncle Ha. He asks his young nephew how did he know it was a mask. If this ability is level 37, then Fang tells his uncle that he got caught by having so many clothes on a hot day, as if he was trying to hide something, also telling him that there are many weak points in his surprise attack. Uncle Ha asks him, how did it go at Tang Ran's house? But Fang interrupts him to ask him about the problem that had arisen in the game. In a surprised way, he asks if he entered the game using the helmet, and he wonders if it has happened much faster than he had anticipated. Fang takes the opportunity to ask him what was wrong with that game. Ha goes on to explain to his nephew that there are two ways to enter the virtual world game. He explains that the first is the entity form, which is how he originally entered the game, and the other is through apparatus for simulation. Uncle Ha tells him that his plan is very well executed and takes the opportunity to talk about his next mission, which is to infiltrate the game while using the simulation helmet. But this will only be under one condition, and that is that he must not leave that nobody finds out how to enter the game as an identity. Outside in the corridor, we see that Commander Tang Ran receives a call on his cell phone, in which he is notified that Area 3 has been attacked by the organization called Obsession. General Tang is very surprised by the attack. Then we see how he cuts off the call a bit nervous when he sees Dr. Liao and Fang walks out the door. The general asks the doctor, how did everything turn out? Dr. Liao tells him that this treatment will take some time, so he should come once a week. Also hinting at the plan for Fang to infiltrate, he tells the general that video games will help him adjust to the outside world. Now we are at General Tang's house, where we see him arrive with the protagonist with some boxes in his hand. Qian is excited to see them and recognizes the content of these boxes. It is the latest version of the helmet to enter fantasy, but the general warns his daughter that this is only for Fang, since the doctor has commissioned it as a treatment. Tang Ran takes the opportunity to ask his daughter to take care of Fang, since he will have to go on a trip for a while. Qian is very excited by his father's request and asks Fang to go put together the game in the room. She tells him that it had been very good the previous time and asks what level is he at. But Fang clarifies that this is the first video game he had used in his entire life. Qian wonders, how is it that being his first time in a game, he managed to give 2 critical attacks and about the ability to perform these attacks. Fang tells her that he was just acting instinctively, so Qian tells him that maybe he's a gaming genius. Then, Qian finishes installing the helmet and asks Fang if he is ready to start. She tells him that she will guide him while she waits for him in the rookie field. Both of them put on the helmets and we see how Fang re-enters the game and the system asks him to choose a game mode between adventure and battle. He chooses the adventure mode and the system detects that the player already has an entry record, so gives him the following options to choose from. The first option is to delete the already saved data and start from scratch. The second is to start at the previous location, but this is not compatible with the current gameplay. Option 3 is to quit the game, and it also gives you a warning that if you delete the data, it cannot be recovered. So Fang decides to delete the saved data as his uncle had instructed him. We see how the system asks him to choose an ID, to which the protagonist Fang Tiang responds. The system says that the adventure mode has started successfully and that there will be no tutorial type. Then, Fang is sent to the town of the Pines, where he talks that there is not much difference with the town he lived in. He realizes that his attributes in the game have been reset, but the skills he had are maintained, been perfecting for years. Suddenly, he is surprised from behind by a mysterious hand. Fang immediately realizes that it is Qian, who is only trying to guide him to increase his level. But Fang does not understand what she is trying to say and she takes him by hand to go kill monsters. We see how the masters move away from the town into the forest. Qian tells him that she will teach him some important things to not make mistakes. Suddenly behind them a very fast shadow slides through the grass, attacking them by surprise. This shadow attacks first against Fang, but he is saved by Qian, who uses her staff to launch an attack at the monster that tried to attack them. The system displays a message telling Fang that he has risen to level 1 and has also added 3 distribution points. Fang does not understand anything about what is happening. To which Qian explains that at the beginning each player has 4 statistics and they start with 5 points. When they level up, 3 points are added to the character's statistics. She also explains what these statistics are, mentioning strength, intelligence, agility, and resistance. She also explains that strength determines attack and defense, agility is for critical attacks and evasion. Resistance determines the amount of life, and intelligence regulates recovery capacity with mana points. She also takes the opportunity to tell him that there are other methods of raising stat points. Fang wonders if all players start with 5 points, why are their stats different from the rest? At that moment, Qian assures him that one day she will raise him to level 10 and later he can look for an instructor to learn more skills and to be assigned tasks. Then more monsters appear and Qian easily knocks them down with multiple attacks of ice crystals. She tells Fang that when he meets the right requirements he will be able to do career searches and that his instructor will teach him the skills of an assassin. Fang begins to question within himself that he has lived in fantasy for more than 10 years and assures that learning a new skill is almost as difficult as touching the sky. So he asks Qian if he can really learn all assassin skills with an instructor. Call to action. We immediately see Fang and Qian killing these small and annoying monsters, when suddenly Qian receives a message from Luo Jian telling her to hurry up because he can't take it anymore. Qian apologizes to Fang for having to leave him in full training, but she has to go help someone with a raid. Fang asks her if he should only go up to level 10 so he can go with an instructor and change her training. She says yes, but he also needs some gold and some extra skills. She asks how much is left for level 10. He replies that he is already at 7. Qian tells him that he is ready to go to town to accept the inventory upgrade, and that with these monsters he will be able to gain extra experience points. Fang wonders what is that, and he checks what his inventory is. Qian tells him that this mission is not that difficult, it just takes a little time and he already has everything he needs to do it. Then she turns and runs off, reminds him that in the town tailor shop will be able to take on that mission and that tomorrow she will continue to help him, to which Fang continues killing monsters. Back to the village, Fang thinks that he should not go around with just a dagger and that he should accept Qian's advice to increase his inventory. He sees a hanging notice from a tailor shop indicating that he had arrived to the site. He opens the door and he meets the owner of the store named Khan. Fang gives him everything he had collected and Khan gives him a reward for it. Quickly the system informs him that he has completed the inventory improvement mission and the experience points he had earned with this mission. Also the system informs him that he has already leveled up to level 8. Then Fang asks Khan where could he find a good weapon. He replies that he can give him one and takes out the so-called tailor's dagger in exchange for an extra mission that will not be so easy this time. Fang seems to like this dagger a lot and asks what would that mission be. Khan tells him that he must deliver a letter. After accepting the mission we see how the system gives him the details of this mission, and says that he must deliver the letter to the owner of a small cabin in the woods. Fang is very surprised that just for delivering this letter they will give him 2,000 points of experience and that with this mission he will be able to reach level 10 at once. He turns around and leaves to complete the task while Khan wishes him good luck on his journey. Changing the scene completely we can see Qian along with the friend he had gone to help fighting against a gigantic monster. He asks her if Fang is still a rookie and if he told him about the legendary mission in the rookie area. She has no idea what he is talking about, to which he replies that she has forgotten this mission. And he tells her that the mysterious hunter Chief Jane has a very high attack, and if one of his arrows hits you, you will lose half the mana. He also tells him that there is no way to get close to him since if you die you will be denied access for 3 days and it's only a quest for newbies since when you level up, the challenge disappears. Qian says that it's not that easy to activate this quest and the chances are 1 in 1,000. When they finish defeating the monster, Luo Jian tells her that she is very right and that this boy Fang Tian cannot be so lucky. Back with the protagonist, we see him arrive at a cabin that seems to be the one where he had to go to deliver the letter. He knocks on the door wondering if there is someone in there. He says he's just here to deliver a letter. Not receiving an answer, he decides to open the door and see if there is someone inside, when suddenly Fang sees how there is a golden arrow heading towards him. He manages to skillfully dodge it and however, the arrow barely manages to touch him and takes a significant amount of life. He goes to the subject who launched the arrow asking him who is he. Fang tells him to read the letter he has brought. Fang opens it and says that the holder of the letter has been brought to you. Then the mysterious archer prepares 3 arrows to test how strong this boy sent by Khan is. Then a system window opens informing Fang that he has successfully completed the mission and has risen to level 10. A new mission has also been unlocked to try to defeat Jane Brand. Jane launches an attack to Fang, but he manages to dodge it once again with great agility in the air, saying that his attacks are difficult to handle. Fang decides to try to defeat the rival since nothing would happen to him when he dies here and launches to attack Jane. He is surprised and prepares a new attack. Just at that moment the system appears to tell Fang that he has been affected by an attack and his agility will decrease by 35%. However, he again manages to dodge a powerful attack, saying that his opponent is anticipating all his moves and thinks of a way to escape since he is facing a very strong opponent. But Jane is surprised by Fang's abilities and proposes to continue his fight at another time and throws him what looks like a potion. The system describes it as a life recovery elixir and gives a description of what it is for and how to use it. Jane asks him to come into the house with her. Once inside, she tells him that she is looking for a partner and to excuse her for the test he had just done. Fang asks her, "Why are you looking for a partner?" Jane takes off her hood and tells him that she is a half-elf. She tells him that there are some notes left by her grandfather and that there is a mysterious passage in the mine in the forest. She also tells him about the strong suspicion that it can be found there, one of the 7 necromancers in a secret laboratory in La Ferniole. Fang inwardly says that he had already heard that name in his previous stay in the game and begins to remember the story he had heard about a great sorceress who suddenly became a necromancer. Then Fang tells her that her skills are impressive and that she could easily explore those mines alone and without help, and asks why she needs a partner and if there is a problem. She replies that there is a moon-howling white wolf, a level 10 elite boss who is always guarding the entrance to the laboratory and needs someone who can distract him while she kills him. Fang automatically asks her what would he gain if he helps her. She answers that he can keep all the loot that is in there and also tells him that he can find a magical artifact that will help him learn interesting skills. Then she asks if he accepts. Fang begins to think about whether it's worth going in and finding a magical item left behind by a necromancer and the possibility of finding nothing. Jane tells him not to worry if he doesn't find anything there because she will have his gratitude and will help him in the future. She also tells him that this quest requires a player to be level 10 or lower, so they won't be able to reach level 11 until they complete the quest, and gives him another life recovery elixir. Then the system appears saying that Jane has shared a task and gives Fang all the description of it. Fang is surprised by the level of the mission, that is 5. After nightfall, they are in the forest and as Jane said, the great white wolf Xiaoyu is guarding the entrance. Fang analyzes it and says that it is not just an ordinary boss. Jane says that she has been coming here for 20 years and she has seen how the wolf has become stronger every day, and she thinks that the area has influenced in some way that increase in power. Fang inside asks if usually the rank of the missions are linked with the final reward. She says that the most difficult missions he has done are a rank and this time it will be S rank, so the reward will be higher, and that's why Jane has been waiting so long. She also thinks that if they can find out what made Xiao so strong, the reward will be even bigger. Jane reminds him that his task is to keep Xiao distracted while she finds the moment to finish him off. Xiao tells him not to take too long, since he doesn't have many skills to sustain a fight for a long time. Jane tells him not to worry because she will kill the white wolf. This one shoots him directly with his bow, but the wolf manages to detect the attack and dodges it, with a simple howl alerting other monsters in the area. Fang immediately jumps in to stop the wolves and does it easily by attacking one of them with his dagger, but another manages to surprise him and manages to bite his shoulder. The system notifies him that he has received a direwolf bite, so he receives 54 damage points and is now 70% slower than before. Jane hits the wolf that bit Fang with her bow. This alerts Xiao and he launches into the air to join the fight. Fang is in awe of the incredible Xiao's power and his bloodlust. The system alerts Fang that he has been hit by bloodlust and his agility is reduced by 35%. He worries because this bloodlust not only affects his agility, but also it affects his level of life. Fang thinks that if he continues like this he will surely die if he doesn't do something fast, so he tries to attack Xiao, but he realizes that he is much faster than the other wolves he faced. Xiao counters with a swing of his claws, but Fang manages to block it by covering himself with his dagger as he admires how strong this wolf is. With a horsemanship movement, Fang manages to escape the attack by pushing himself to cut Xiao with his dagger, barely managing to inflict a small wound on him. And while he is going through the air, the wolf attacks him with its bite, critically injuring him and throwing him against the rocks. The system immediately alerts you that he has been injured by the crushing attack of the howling white wolf. As Fang recovers from this powerful attack, he wonders if Jane hadn't had a chance to attack and kill the wolf yet. He gets up from the ground to continue the battle and launches himself against the white wolf, but just at that moment, a powerful arrow attack passes by Fang's side and hits Xiao. At that moment, the system notifies that the Xiao wolf has been successfully defeated thanks to the fatal blow from Jane's arrow, but it also tells him that the wolf's attack has managed to hit him too and now he is dead despite the plan succeeded. The system also tells Fang that since he died by Jane's hands, he is now banned from fantasy for 72 hours and his experience has been reduced by 10%. He ends up very surprised by the fact that he won't be able to enter the game. game for 3 days. He says that S-rank missions are definitely too difficult and killing the white wolf will only be the beginning. Fang agrees to wait that long to return to the game and also hopes that Jane will keep her promise and wait for him in the cabin in the woods closing the game session. Fang is back in the real world. When he leaves his room, he sees Qian seeing off General Tang. She explains that his father has left for an important mission and that he won't be back for a while. Fang wonders, does this mission have something to do with your Uncle Ha's plan? At that moment, Qian came up to him, telling him not to worry because her father had already arranged everything and that tomorrow they would go to school together. The next day they are already in said high school, while Fang is introduced to his other classmates and they are asked to welcome him. He introduces himself and in the back of the room is Luo Jian, who tells everyone that he is the expert while being scolded by reminding him to abide by the rules. Fang approaches an available seat that happens to be next to Luo Jian. As Fang approaches his new seat, the girls start talking about how handsome and cold he looks. In that, Luo Jian turns to ask Fang about how the game has gone, if he has managed to advance in level and if he needs guidance. Luo Jian replies that he prefers to continue advancing alone and that he has not been able to continue playing since they killed him and he must wait 3 days to re-enter. Luo Jian replies that there are only normal monsters in the rookie area and asks him what could have happened. Killed a free mode player like him. He decides not to pay attention to her and concentrates on his own. But Luo Jian asks him if he accepted the mission of the letter and ended up meeting the archer in the cabin. Fang is astonished and asks him how did he guess that this was what happened to him and if he had also received that mission. He replies that he only found out because of another player and asks if he managed to defeat him. Fang replies that he was very powerful and that he couldn't beat him, but nevertheless the archer didn't want to kill him and was only testing him. Luo Jian surprised, he couldn't believe that the archer hadn't killed him, so he asks what happened next. He replies that he only wanted me to help him kill the howling white wolf. He tells him that in the end the wolf and him had died. Luo Jian ends up very astonished and tells him that he still can't believe that he finished that legendary mission, and also tells him that for 20 years, all those who have tried to do that mission have failed in the same way, with only one arrow shot. Fang replies that killing the white wolf was only the beginning, and that surely more missions like that await him. Luo Jian is excited about this probable chain of missions that Fang will have to face and wonders how crazy these will be. But then he asks Fang if he can reveal to him what are the rewards of those complicated missions. He replies that he doesn't know yet because he will have to wait 3 days to re-enter, in which Luo Jian begs him to let him be his disciple and Fang replies that he is very strict so he says no. In that we see Qian who approaches where the two boys are and scolds Luo Jian since the teacher told them to self-study, but her screams are heard to the front row. Qian takes the opportunity to tell Fang that since he has not joined no clubs yet, she'll take him to see a few so he can choose. Luo Jian wonders how come an expert has to choose a club, but he interprets that he is just looking to join the sports club. Fang does not understand what these boys are talking about, so Qian takes it upon himself to explain that clubs are organized groups of the school that deal with various interests, and gives him some examples such as the art club, the singing club, the literature club, the debate club, and among many others. Luo Jian tells him that fantasy is currently the most fashionable game and talks about how tournaments between schools are already being organized to train future players. She also says that his school's sports club is the most popular. Then, Fang tells himself that reality is not far from the report that his Uncle Ha gave him. Fang gets up and asks the boys to take him to see the sports team. The boys arrive at a playground that is in the city where the sports team usually meets. Luo Jian realizes that this place is closed, while Qian says that thousands apply here and that because it is such a popular team it means that they are always open, so she tells the other two to go see the other clubs. At that moment we can notice two boys who are on the other side of the street watching the three boys. The boy tells the girl that the one in the middle is Fang Tang and that they all belong to physics class 3 including Tang Qian. The girl asks him if he is sure that this Fang guy has activated the free mode. He replies that only players who activate this free mode can move like he did that day. This girl, who turned out to be the vice president of the sports club, replies to the other boy that it is not common for someone who can activate this mode to appear like this out of nowhere, and asks him about what he thinks of Tang Qian's abilities. He replies that she is an extraordinary girl compared to the rest of the players. He also says that if she manages to polish her skills she will go a long way. The girl turns to walk away as she tells the other boy that she will leave him in charge of the recruitment tests, and that when the time comes, she will take a look at the Fang Tang murders. In another scene, we see how Fang and Qian are about to get home. She asks him if he was finally able to go to the newbie village and pass level 10. He replies that he still hadn't been able to since he had died during the game. She is surprised and asks how did he die. He replies that he had accepted a mission that turned out to be too much for him, to which she tells him that she will not be able to continue helping him, since she accepted a new mission that will keep her busy for a while and that he will have to level up on his own. And finally, he advises him to take a look around the game's forum, since there he will find very useful information for a newbie like him. Here we see how Fang puts on his helmet and tries to enter the game, but still the adventure world is blocked, so he tries to prove what Qian told him. So he asks the system to let him enter the forum and the system loads it immediately, bringing up a system panel never before seen by Fang and leaving him completely amazed. He begins to read all the information he finds in this forum and discovers an article that talks about how during the end of the first year of release of the game an error appeared unexpectedly, and how players used methods to enter fantasy and get the objects out of the game. Also found in this forum is the story of how the devilish scorpion appeared, a level 30 boss, and how it appeared in real life. This gigantic monster destroyed a small town with its arrival, unleashing panic throughout the world. With this incident, after they managed to kill the scorpion, the UN prohibited these unique entries into the game and determined that all offenders will be punished with the death penalty. Likewise, the UN also approved the butterfly operation, which consisted of selecting talented players to send them to the game, allowing them to train and develop skills within the game to be able to annihilate potential threats, and since then there have been no such incidents. With this information, Fang wonders if his Uncle Ha and General Fang are members of this butterfly operation. In turn, he disconnects from the game, finding all the information he has collected interesting. Likewise, we see how the 3 days go by normally in Fang's life. He is in front of the helmet saying that Jane had promised him that they would enter the mine together. So he puts on the helmet and quickly enters the game. Once inside, he finds himself in the place where he died and runs into Jane, who seemed to be waiting for him, and she tells him that apparently his reappearance time is quite long. Fang replies that this is not the time to talk about those things and tells her he recriminates the fact that she used him as bait and then pierced him with an arrow. But Jane responds by explaining that she used an attack for a fixed target, and using him as that target, managed to make the white wolf not notice the attack and that he won't try to escape. Fang ironically congratulates her for having killed 2 birds with 1 stone, and Jane gives him a relic of the battle, stating that it could be very useful. It is the howling white wolf's fang. Diachi tells him that thanks to his help, now they will be able to start with the mission. Fang decides to go first, considering that his punishment for dying would not be so severe. Then a system notification arrives with the mission update. When these break into the mine, the first thing they notice is the trail of battles at the entrance, when suddenly Fang finds some purple flowers on the ground and the system notifies him that his ability to examine is in 0, so it won't be able to identify the object. But Jane tells him that it is the flower of death and that it is an ingredient used by pharmacists. They continue through the mine until they reach a door with a glowing symbol at the entrance. The system identifies it as an affectation by the scent of the undead, affecting their basic attributes and increasing the damage taken by 30%. Jane wonders what is this. Then, Fang replies that apparently this door is containing the corrupted aura. Jane assures that the answers are surely behind this door and asks Fang if he knew that the necromancer is a half-elf like her. And she begins to translate what is written around the symbol on the door. It says that those who seek power will have to burn the undead and that the gods have determined it that way. And while Jane continues to decipher the scriptures, we see how a green aura begins to emanate from the door while Fang wonders what is happening. In that, the system warns of a new update of the mission, and this is that in order to continue, the seal on the door must be broken. Then we see how living skeleton monsters begin to emerge from the ground, so these two prepare for a battle. Fang, as always, is the first to attack and manages to hit several skeletons at the same time while telling himself that it already seemed strange to him that nothing strange had appeared on the road and that they were waiting for them in that place. While Tang is in charge of fighting, we see Jane perform a spell to try to open the door, but he throws her away, making the effort useless. He wonders what they have gotten themselves into, and that this seal turned out to be very complicated. He also deduces that behind that door there may be a level 3 undead ghost boss. Fang tells her that he has heard of them, and that normal physical attacks do not work on them, and asks to Jane what should they do now, since they have been affected by the aura of the undead and these skeletons are resurrecting. To Fid, Jane replies that they can't continue like this, that they'd better leave to figure out how to break this seal. Seeing the opportunity, they run immediately where Fang states that they are not chasing them because they are only active near the seal. He asks Jane what should they do and if there is not someone in town capable of understanding this complicated seal. He also tells her that he is going to ask about it, in which we see that he goes to his friend Qian to ask her about the seal. She replies that it is a level 6 seal and that not even a professional from the town can decipher such thing, so he advises her to ask on the forum, because there are many people who, by good fortune, could try to open that door. Fang tells Jane what he has been told. She also tells him that there is a probable solution, but this one would imply many gold coins, to which he responds by asking her if he had not gotten some a moment ago. She responds by asking if he was talking about the herbs of mortality. Jane goes on to explain that these herbs are very expensive and are used for a shouting potion that is very useful to deal with specters. She also tells him that they could sell them and get a lot of money, but he wonders, using the harvest ability, would this affect the powers in any way? Herbs. At that, Fang remembers that in his previous state in fantasy, he knew very well about that harvest ability, but he wonders if he could use it here. In that, Jane gives him a tool to start harvesting once and for all. The system notifies of a received tool, and that due to how rusty it is, it could represent a harvest success of only 2%. Also, the system says that a hidden skill of the player has been unlocked and that this is level 15. Fang begins to harvest the grass and the system tells him that he has completed it successfully. And when he seems to be done with this task, Jane tells him that in a few days she will be working on a screaming potion that can be used on rates. So she asks Fang to meet in 2 days to try again. Fang already has 3 mortality herbs in his inventory. He wonders who would buy them from him. Changing the scene, we see a girl who seems to be doing some live broadcast. We see this girl start interacting with someone, even calling him president. He replies that there is someone on the forum who has drawn a lot of attention for a post he made. He asks the girl to go and make sure to make a deal with this guy by giving him an initial offer of 30 million gold coins. The girl is surprised by the price and asks what are they selling that gets such a high price. He replies that it is the herb of death, and the girl is surprised to learn that this herb exists. Now we go to the boys' school. Here we see Luo Jian ask Fang how did his mission go. He responds by saying that he had found a sealing inscription that he could not open and that he is currently waiting for a response from the forum. Luo Jian offers him his tablet so that he can enter the forum and check if he has gotten any answers. Then they begin to review and realize that there are not the answers they wanted, but Fang realizes that there is a topic that is generating controversy and interest. It is about the herbs of mortality and how there is a subject selling this product. Luo Jian tells him that this ad has become very popular and that whoever made it will surely become very rich selling these herbs. He is surprised and asks if he was the one who made this publication. And it is not surprising that an expert like him has been able to make such a fuss in the forum. Then, a comment appears from a girl who introduces herself as Shen Luo from the Guild of Stars, tells him that this guild is interested in buying the herbs and leaves her number for him to contact her. Luo Jian ends up very moved by that comment on the forum. He tells him that it is incredible how he has managed to attract the attention of a girl as sexy as Shen Luo is. Fang asks him how does he know it is her. And he responds by describing the girl and saying that she is the sexiest of all. He also tells him that he is a verified user and that it is definitely her. Fang thinks that what Luo Jian says may be true and that it really is about that girl. But anyway, he will find out tonight, in which Luo Jian explains that she is his idol and if he could do her a favor, but Fang doesn't seem to pay much attention to him. In that we see how Fang meets Qian to go home together as usual. Upon arrival, Qian asks Fang to hurry up, since her teammates were waiting for her. She also asks him to bring her some apple juice while she connects to the game. Fang, seeing how busy Qian will be, decides go to the forums first to review them. In that we see a couple of girls in an armchair, where one of them asks the other if she believes that this herb of mortality really exists, since it had been determined that the account that had published the information had been created recently. Says it could be a scam. The other girl replies that no guild has ever completed that level 60 instance, and that this herb is the key to completing it, so she asks, isn't it worth it? She also points out that the intelligence team had determined that the photos sent by the seller were real, and that the percentage of how intact they are was because the seller had very high cultivation abilities, so that post is definitely not an error. Scam. Suddenly the other girl tells her that the seller had sent her a friend request. Now being friends they can talk without problems. Fang tells her that he saw her answer on the forum and wants to know what the guild's offer is. The girls talk about Fang's answer and one says that the guild leader is very interested in that guy's harvesting skills and she will go after him. Then the girls answer him not to worry about the price since the guild will be able to pay anything, and one of them makes him a proposal about the seal, tells him that they can help him decipher it and that they should work as a team. Fang, being inside the game, wonders how come those people are not interested in receiving money for deciphering the seal, but in turn, he assures that he will not abandon that S-rank mission, so he asks them, how can they work together on this? She tells him that he simply has to contact the guild every time he finds an interesting and valuable item like herbs. She also tells him that he can contact the guild every time he has a problem to help him. These girls offer to send him the necessary drawings to decipher the seal for free. In exchange, he must close the deal with the guild and sell the herbs to them for half the initial price. They also tell him that they can discuss this matter in person. In that we see how Fang already has the payment in his hands. He tells himself that he cannot earn money by killing monsters in the game, and that the change is governed by every 10,000 bills in real life that are equivalent to 1 in-game gold coin. He tells how over the years, he had to resort to missions to earn gold coins and that he did not expect to earn so much with some simple herbs that he collected from the ground. He also remembered how much Luo Jian talks about how lucrative they can be. Some non-combat activities. One of the girls wonders how come he hasn't responded yet. She thinks that Fang did not like the price since her partner had only paid her half of what had been initially discussed. The other Kuika replied that she should not be scared, because even that price is still very high. She also talks about how privileged Fang must feel to have the opportunity to work and cooperate with a guild like the Stars, so they decide to give him some time to think through their offer. After thinking about it very well, we see Fang makes the decision to accept the guild's proposal. So he sends a message to the girls saying that he agrees the deal and that he will tell her the place where they will deliver it. He, remembering his friend Luo Jian, tells Shen Luo that he has one last request for her.